Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at Miles Morales and Marvel's Prowler from the Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse film from a few years ago. Now, both of these figures are part of the Stiltman wave, and I may be reviewing one or two more figures from this wave, but I'm not a big fan of Stiltman, so I don't plan on completing the Build-A-Figure, so we'll see how that goes. Now, whether or not you plan on getting these figures, you're going to want to take a look at the pinless technology because it's executed fairly well on both of them. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with Miles Morales. Okay, so Miles Morales comes with an unmasked head, a masked head, 2 fists, and 2 web shooting hands. Unfortunately, he doesn't include any wall crawling hands. Those I think would have been nice. No web effects either, and also no electrical effects. So that's a bit disappointing, but I have a few extra effects laying around, so I can probably just use those if I want. Now, as I mentioned, Miles does use the pinless technology, so there are no pins for the elbows or the knees. His head is also on a double ball joint. Unfortunately, we get generic shoes instead of the Jordans that he wears in the film, but at least the colors are similar. Now, there was a 2-pack that came out around the time the movie released, and we got a version of Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen, but that 2-pack suffered from the same problem that a lot of figures based on film suffer from, in that the artwork wasn't complete at the time they made the figure, so it's not entirely screen accurate. But I'll do a comparison so that you guys can see the previous version of Miles Morales based on Into the Spider-Verse and the new version. Okay, so in looking at the previous version of Miles Morales compared to the newer one, you can see that the newer one does have a slimmer design, but it is more film accurate. The face sculpt on the older version also was nowhere near what the movie looked like, so the new version hands down takes it there. Way more accurate representation of the character. Now, like I said, the new version does have pinless elbows and knees, so from an aesthetic standpoint, the newer version looks a lot better just because of that. Now, the masked head on the new version also has texture to it, whereas the older version is just smooth. The old version does have boot or calf swivel, as well as bigger feet than the newer version. The newer version has smaller hands and feet, but they are both a similar height. And if you're wondering, the parts are not interchangeable, unfortunately. The new version has smaller hands, so it uses smaller pins as a result. So the older versions, the pins are just too big to fit. Now, the new Miles Morales using the double ball jointed head has some back and forward movement, but if you tilt him all the way back where he's looking up, you will see a gap, so just be aware of that. And on the new version, the jacket is basically broken into 2 different parts. So you have the vest part and then you have the arms. The arms are molded in, so you can't take those off. You can remove the vest part if you want, but he's still going to have the jacketed arms, so not really much point in doing that. But the new version of Miles Morales has great articulation. It's an excellent interpretation of the character from the film. 2 very good head sculpts are included. It would have benefited from more hands and electric effects, but I can still use the ones from the 2-pack, so it doesn't bother me too much. Overall, it's a great figure. If you're into Miles Morales, Edge of the Spider-Verse, definitely take a look at this. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the Prowler. The Prowler comes with one accessory, which is a briefcase. The briefcase has money inside of it, and the money is actually one molded piece, so you can remove it altogether if you'd like and put something else in the briefcase or just have it empty. He features pinless technology in the elbows and knees, so it gives it a nice smooth aesthetic. His hands actually pivot up and down instead of side to side, which would make sense if he were holding a gun or something like that. Not really sure why they chose the up and down motion instead of side to side. Although if you have him swinging from a rope, it does make sense in that situation. His cape has a peg, so it pegs into his back, so you don't have to worry about it spinning around or anything like that. It's also removable, so if you want to take it off, you can. He does not include a double ball jointed head. He has the standard one, so it's really difficult to get him looking up, but you can get him looking down just fine. Aside from that, the articulation is good. He has boot swivel, which comes in handy, so you don't have to break up the lines on his suit if you want to have his feet flared out. So overall, I really like this figure. I do believe it would have benefited from alternate hands, and maybe an unmasked head would have been nice. But for what we get, I think it's well worth the price. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you pick these figures up or if you plan on doing so in the future and what you think of them. Thank you guys for watching. As always, thank you for your support, and I'll see you on the next video.